welcome back to our journey. If you have been traveling with us, thank you for coming back and finishing up on our last video today. And if you're new, thank you for joining us on our road trip series. We hope that we have encouraged everyone and helped you plan your own adventures. Today we'll be in Springfield discovering Lincoln's life, and tomorrow we'll be traveling through many states to get back home to Pennsylvania. We are Betsy and Chet traveling with our son Alex, who has Phelan McDermid Syndrome, autism, and intellectual disability. Alex is nonverbal and communicates with his eye-gaze device. He also communicates through his vocalizations and excitement level. Our videos, Goal 1, Joyful Life, are based on our family's journey and strategies we use to improve the quality of our life through meaningful leisure experiences. It is our hope to reach our number one goal of having a joyful life and to help others reach for that goal too.
Hi, it is Friday, our last day of vacation. Alex fell asleep a little bit later than typical, but he slept the night, right, Alex? So he did good the whole entire vacation, right? And we're on our way to, we're in Springfield, Illinois, and so we're on our way to the Lincoln home, the Lincoln Museum, and the Lincoln Tomb, and then we're headed home. So we're hoping to have a really good day. The weather looks still good, right, Alex? And see how it goes. Chet's busy loading up the car. He's been great loading up the car.
We should have stopped to take a better picture, but we saw this pink elephant on the way in the shopping plaza. We are now in Springfield, Illinois, on the way to Lincoln's home. We got slightly lost finding his home. We took the scenic route. We're a couple blocks away from the Lincoln home. This is what downtown looks like. Springfield has some older churches and older buildings that are very pretty. Here's an older house. Here's a church I really like. I like the stonework. The Center for the Arts is on the right. Looks like a giant parking lot, or a parking garage. Here's the Lincoln Library, public library. And then make a left in here somewhere. There we go. We arrived a few minutes early before they opened. It was easy to find parking close to the Lincoln Home Information Center. The Lincoln Home National Park preserves the home of our 16th President, Abraham Lincoln. The home and neighborhood is preserved to the 1860 period, where Abraham Lincoln lived most of his adult life. The park is free, and it is wheelchair accessible. We had to wait a few minutes until the park opened, so we watched the bunny. It was good that we arrived early because you need to get free tickets to get the tour of the Lincoln home, which is on a first-come, first-served basis. Lincoln's home draws hundreds of thousands of visitors each year. You can get tickets inside the visitor center, which also has some displays and a gift shop. Each tour is limited to 15 individuals. Pick up a ticket inside the Lincoln Home Visitor Center for a 20 to 25-minute tour of the home. Here they're suggesting Springfield socks or Lincoln logs as a souvenir. One of the displays is a letter by Thomas Edison, who wrote, "The writer can only reiterate what has been much better said by others, that the life and the character of Abraham Lincoln and his great services to the country during the War of the Rebellion will stand as a monument long after the granite monuments erected to his memory have crumbled in the dust." This display is about Lincoln's law practice. He and his partners handled over 5,000 cases during his career. He had planned to return to Springfield after he was president. He said that he would go on practicing law as if nothing ever happened. Lincoln's home is only a short walk from the visitor center. There are several buildings to see. According to the sign, we are to imagine empty lots filled with houses and barns, with wider streets that were either dusty or muddy. May 1st, 1844, Abraham and Mary and their 9-month-old Robert moved here. Our tour started outside Lincoln's home. Our guides were wonderful. The Lincolns lived here from 1844 to 1861. He purchased his home only 7 years after he rode into Springfield with 2 saddlebags on a borrowed horse. In 1861, he left his home for Washington as president-elect. The Lincoln Parlor is where he received news of his nomination for president. This room was meant to impress and entertain friends and guests. This hair art is a replica. It was popular at the time to remember loved ones by making art or jewelry in their memory. Notice the upholstered rockers. The Lincolns purchased 2, one for Abe and one for Mary. I'm not sure, but I think the sofa was the same that they sat on during courtship. If you can, you'll want to sign up for the free tour. Our guide was so interesting. The dining room was a place for Lincoln to sit for a meal and have a conversation. In 1856, they gained a double parlor when the master bedroom was moved to the 2nd floor, and they also had a sitting room.
Sweet, that's an original Lincoln doorbell, and it's a doorbell. Now it would function if we had all the parts in place, but we've taken it apart so people can't.
This is Mr. Lincoln's half of suite. Notice Lincoln's desk in the corner, very modest for an elected president. Before he's sworn in, 7 states leave the Union because he was elected. This is Mary's side of the bedroom suite. Notice the chest next to her bed. She brought that with her from her childhood days in Kentucky. The only original bed in the house is here in the guest room. Robert was the only son with his own room. When he moved to school, his brothers moved in. This is a female servant room. The flooring is the only original flooring in the house. Here is the kitchen. They purchased a stove in 1860, the same year Lincoln was elected. Here is the first known photo of the Lincolns' backyard. Mary said, "It is my pleasure that my children are free, happy, and unrestrained by parental tyranny. Love is the chain whereby to bind a child to its parents." Abe was frequently seen taking his children on walks. This is the Cornell house. Charles Cornell was the local druggist where the Lincolns got medication. If you get the chance, read the signs. They are so interesting. Lincoln's sons Eddie, Willie, and Tad were born here. Lincoln said, "A government's leading object is to elevate the condition of men, to lift artificial weights from all shoulders, to clear paths of laudable pursuit for all, to afford all an unfettered start and a fair chance in the race of life." Sorry, wiping the bird poop off the sign would have made for a better picture. Oh well, I'm not going back to Springfield anytime soon to get a better picture. This sign was also interesting. By 1860, 33% of Springfield residents were born outside of the U.S., and 44 were 17 years old or younger. Also, this sign said that Mariah Vance was the longest working servant for the Lincoln family, and after Robert Lincoln visited her for dinner in 1900, he started sending her pension. I thought that was great. In 1839, Mary moved to Springfield to live with her sister Elizabeth. Mary and Lincoln may have met at one of her house parties. Mary and Lincoln were married in 1842. In her later years, Mary would return to her sister's home, where she died in 1882 at the age of 63. Okay, last sign, and then we're moving on, I promise. I was shocked to find out that I'm 60. I'm older now than Lincoln was when he died at 56. Amazing. Didn't realize that. This sign gives a map of all the places Lincoln lived. He was a store clerk, a store owner, a postmaster, a militia captain, a surveyor, a lawyer, a politician, and president. He was self-taught for most because he only had a year of formal education. Just amazing. Lincoln said, "When one starts poor, as most do in the race of life, free society is such that he knows he can better his condition. I want every man to have that chance, and I believe a black man is entitled to it, in which he can better his condition." Okay, moving on to the Harriet Dean House. Harriet was a teacher of girls and Lincoln's neighbor. The first floor has more Lincoln exhibits. Some are about the expansion of their home. Check out this wheelchair elevator.
Now, if somebody was running around and opening the gates, it'd be a lot better, but...
I got you.
No.
Okay, back to our Lincoln education. We're going to be so smart when we finish this video. The Lincolns purchased their home in 1844 for $1,500, using $1,200 in cash, plus a downtown lot and a building worth $300. Home mortgages from banks, although common today, were not common back then and didn't become common until the 1930s. The Lincoln house was originally smaller. They enlarged it to meet the needs of their growing family. The home was known to reflect Mary's good taste. This display shows when they were moving the Arnold house. Charles Arnold was a political ally of Lincoln, both belonging to the Whig Party. This display shows construction of the walls back then. Examining the construction of the Arnold house let researchers know the changes made over time to the house. Houses were used for human waste, but also for garbage. Archaeologists have found many items that tell how people lived at the time. The historic Grace Lutheran Church was founded by a neighbor and friend of Lincoln. The National Park Service allows the church to remain as long as it's used for church services. Lincoln wrote, "Reverend Francis Springer is one of my best friends, and than whom there is no more reliable man." We are now at the Springfield Union Station, a former train station. It is part of the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum. It's a very beautiful building. This train station was open from 1898 to 1971. The new clock tower was built in 2006 to replicate the tower removed in 1946. We are now going to the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Museum and later to the library. First stop is a gift shop, which is a lovely place to pick up souvenirs. And you'll want to take your picture with this great eagle. Isn't he cute? I typically love museums, and this one was great. Lincoln's family looks so real. This theater has special effects enabling ghosts to magically appear to explain history. This is the What Were They Wearing in Washington exhibit. Absolutely beautiful. The gowns were incredible. This one is my favorite. This exhibit travels in time from Lincoln's boyhood through his 1860 presidential campaign.
The attention to detail is amazing.
Lincoln's first house.
Isn't this great? I didn't know there'd be a band. In his teenage years, Lincoln was restless to sample the frontier life, so he built himself a flatboat. He was hired by some travelers to ferry them to an Ohio River steamer. Lincoln was amazed by the twin silver dollars he earned in less than a day. The next displays are found at the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library, which is across the street next door to the museum. Although this is a research library, there are several interesting items to see. One of the most important is a Lincoln signed copy of the Emancipation Proclamation. Lincoln was convinced that the only way to have lasting peace was to end slavery, and this document started that process. This is one of 27 out of 48 signed printed copies that still exist today. The official copy is held by the National Archives in D.C. There are several political cartoons. The Illinois State Capitol building. We are on our way to Lincoln's tomb.
Go slow, it's right here.
Oak Ridge Cemetery is the second most visited cemetery in the United States. The first is the Arlington National Cemetery. Lincoln's tomb is beautiful. Lots of flowers, very green. There it is. Now we just need to find a place to park. Oak Ridge Cemetery is approximately 180 acres. It is believed that Abraham and Mary Todd Lincoln attended the opening dedication on May 24, 1860. Lincoln's body was transported by a funeral train from Washington, D.C. to Springfield, Illinois, on the same route but in reverse that he had taken as President-elect in 1861. The funeral train took 13 days and passed through 180 cities and 7 states, allowing millions to pay respects to President Lincoln. The cemetery houses the tombs of Abraham Lincoln, his wife Mary Todd Lincoln, and 3 of their 4 sons, Edward, Willie, Ted. The oldest, Robert, is buried in the Arlington Cemetery. Lincoln's body was moved 17 times due to security concerns and construction, and his coffin was opened 5 times between 1865 and 1901. There was an attempted theft in 1876, which led to the secret burial of his coffin in a steel cage under concrete in 1901. The nose on the bronze bust of Lincoln at the entrance is rubbed for good luck.
Only tall people can have good luck.
From what I've learned in Springfield today, I like Abe. He seems like a nice guy. His actions at times speak louder than his words. In Lincoln's era, they had limited understanding of disability. It was said that he showed concern for others. He once wrote a poem about Matthew Gentry, who was a bright young youth, but at age 19 had a decline in his mental health that he never recovered from. It was said that Lincoln helped to gain financial aid for a man with a psychiatric disability and petitioned Congress for land for Conrad Summers, who was a musician with blindness. As president, he signed legislation that helped establish Gallaudet University for the deaf and hard hearing. And Lincoln himself lived with depression and lived through many difficult times, which I think gave him a greater understanding of the struggle of others. This is the one quote I found from his second inaugural address that later became the mission statement for the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. To care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan. This tells us his commitment to others.
Welcome to Indiana. This is Eagle Creek Reservoir in Indiana. Alex is watching his movies. Super traveler.
Springfield, Illinois was our last sightseeing spot. We're now traveling home to Pennsylvania, mostly highway, so we'll leave you now. Thank you so much for joining us on our Pennsylvania to Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons road trip. Chet and I will leave in 2 weeks for a 3-week camper van journey of Japan. I hope you will join us for this series too. We are also working on a local Maryland Wildlife Preserve video, so please subscribe to be alerted when these videos are available.
Almost on the turnpike. 3 hours from home.
That's the end.
back home.